Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone, or whenever you watch this. And this is another episode of the Northeast Bowl Rush. I'm with John Glowatz again for another week of just exciting Northeast Bowl talk, covering the three bowls and a little bit of ACC bowl talk in terms of BC and Pitt. John, just another crazy weekend in college football. Another top five team goes down. Feels like 2007 again, maybe 2007 light. Any final takeaways from the weekend? Anything looking ahead?
I mean, I think it goes without saying, Omar, that the biggest win of the weekend was the storied upset of the UConn Huskies over the dastardly Yale. What are they, the Bulldogs? Something like that. So big win there, obviously, to stop the Schneid. But no, yeah, obviously Iowa going down was huge. I didn't think it was going to happen to Purdue, but especially at Kinnick. But Purdue has that magic every once in a while. They take down the number 2 team in the country, usually at home. But, you know, this time the magic traveled to Kinnick.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing the same thing. I guess felt like 2018 again with Ohio State. We all know that they're probably going to go 7-5 the rest of the year for some reason, but that was a great one to see as well. And we had UTSA under the polls. It just amazes me how deep the New Year's Six race is in the group of 5. Like in any other year, all these programs would probably be a front runner for the New Year's Six, whether it's Coastal, SDSU, or even UTSA. But here we are with such a packed race.
Yeah, and to say nothing of Cincinnati, who's probably going to the playoff.
I hope so. I kind of got that feeling inside me that the playoff committee is going to screw them. But I really do hope so.
I think if they win out, they're in. I just think there's going to be enough cannibalization in the other conferences that since he's in, and not only are they playing well this year, but they played amazing ball last year. They almost beat Georgia, who's like world beaters now. In that was the Peach Bowl. So I think it's stupid. It shouldn't be like a multi-year award, but I think the committee does reward teams like this year Cincinnati, who's been good for more than 1 year, like another G5 in UCF. Obviously, the committee didn't reward them with a playoff berth, but that was like the only real plausible scenario for a G5 team to ever make it into the playoff, at least the way it's presently constituted at a 4-team playoff.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. It really is unfair that the group 5 teams have to do the 2-year process, really. I mean, even stretching back to Houston, if Houston doesn't implode in 2016, you have to look back to their 2015 season as to sort of that launch pad for them going into the playoff. Even after they beat Oklahoma, they still need that 2015. So it really is a shame. But, historical moment here feels, I guess, like 84 with BYU winning the national title. I'm not saying Cincinnati's going to win it, but just making the playoff alone is just as monumental as that BYU national title.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they make it, they have a shot. There's nobody that seems invincible. I mean, we kind of thought Georgia and Bama were far ahead of anybody else, but we see Bama go down. Georgia has looked really great, but I mean, that Clemson win now isn't looking that good. And I know it was week 1, but they only beat Clemson by, what was it? 1 score, 7-point game or something like that, was it?
10-3,
so,
yeah.
So, I don't think Georgia is infallible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at least on offense. I mean, the defense might be one of the greatest defenses of all time when it's all said and done. But yeah, like we'll just see. I mean, exciting times for the American, which I guess will be our segue to our first sort of bullet point we talked about beforehand. So with the American Conference, there's 3 great teams at the moment. You have Houston, SMU, and Cincinnati. Surprising that there's not Memphis and frankly UCF in that conversation this year. Excuse me. But a recurring theme of this pod has been how ESPN does what ESPN wants, with especially with the Fenway Bowl being an ESPN bowl. So I want to ask, do you see the ESPN setting up a sort of, I guess, Texas championship game in a group of 5 bowl with Houston or even SMU, say an 11-2, 11-2 SMU squad against UTSA, and how would that affect the Fenway Bowl?
That's a good question, Omar. So first, let me start out with saying I think that Houston is going to fall on its face. I think they're 5-1, but they've played nobody. I mean, aside from Texas Tech, who they lost to. They're 5 wins. I don't know what the overall record of the teams they beat is, but it might be a losing record. I mean, they've really played nobody, and they haven't looked terrible. They've beat most of the teams they played by a fairly wide margin, but I think they're a little bit of a paper tiger. So I'll start out with that. So I don't think Houston's going to be in the mix. After that, it's a good question. I don't know. I don't really think that UTSA is a big enough brand to really start pushing that. I mean, maybe with them moving to the American. Do I have that right? UTSA is moving. Yeah. Maybe ESPN will try to push them more because the American is 100% TV rights to ESPN. So maybe ESPN sees that as kind of building up the American a little bit more than it had been. I don't know, but all the bowl projections I'm seeing for that Texas Bowl look like Big 12 and yeah, maybe an SMU sneaks in if they have a really good year, but more than likely to be an SEC team.
Yes, I mean I agree. I agree for the most part. I do think we're looking at Houston's remaining schedule. I do think they lose to SMU, of course. East Carolina, you don't know which East Carolina you're going to get each week, so I'm penciling that one as a win this Saturday. You also got Temple. I don't think Temple has what it takes to beat Houston, honestly. South
Fair
Florida.
enough. Mm-hmm.
Memphis is a swing game, maybe 9-3. We'll say we lose that one just on a swing game, and then UConn. So easy. I think that's an easy 9-3, if not 10-2. I mean it's a beefy record, and I don't want to jinx it, but I think there's not there. I mean, all signs point to UTSA going, I think 13-0 in Conference USA because the conference it's not as strong as it's been in years past. Like UAB does not look as competitive in the division as they have in years past. And then on the east side, I don't know who can compete with the UTSA, but we'll see. Hopefully I don't jinx them. I do think not exactly the Texas Bowl. When I said that, I was talking about like one of the 3 Texas bowls in Texas that ESPN owns and operates.
Oh, I see.
First responder, yeah. So yeah, I can easily see either the First Responder Bowl or the Frisco Bowl doing that. I mean, just because that's an easy ticket sell, especially with SMU if they don't make a New Year's Six. I'm not so sure about the brand part though. I'm not sure that really matters when it's I guess a bowl with 2 Texas teams in Texas and the records kind of pop out off the page. And I guess if UTSA wins out, I'd say it's a top 16 team, and no matter what brand you are, like that's enough TV. I think that's enough of a TV draw to really put them in a bowl against SMU or Houston. So that's my viewpoint on that. How that would affect the Fenway Bowl. Of course, the American just doesn't have that much depth, so we could see maybe a 7-5 team and not even an Eastern team playing against the SEC in that bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, we might in the Fenway Bowl. Yeah, my bad. Now that you're saying a Texas Bowl, or now that I'm hearing that, I'm sure you said it correctly, and I just misinterpreted. Yeah, I think that sounds more likely.
I mean, it's interesting for sure, and like, there's also so many options. I guess like UTSA, I think is one of the bigger wild cards in bowl season because Conference USA could decide to put them in the Independence Bowl, and like we might not even have this conversation. Like that might cause Houston or SMU to slide into the Fenway Bowl or the Military Bowl. But because UTSA is such a wild card, we're having this discussion, and I think I guess the bowl prognosticators are sort of noticing that too in some of the projections. Excuse me. Like a funny one this week. It seems each week new teams enter into the Fenway Bowl. We have Tulsa, Virginia Tech at Fenway. Thoughts on that projection? I'm not even sure Tulsa would become bowl eligible. Maybe they'd be a 5-7 team. Maybe that's how bad the situation is. But that one seems like a wild projection to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too thrilled for that matchup, honestly. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but I still am holding out a little bit of hope for BC in that Fenway Bowl. Certainly would prefer them to Virginia Tech. I mean, I think both teams have a shot of not being bowl eligible. probably BC more likely. But yeah, and Tulsa, yeah, just like you said, it's kind of a middling season for them. So yeah, I wouldn't be too thrilled.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I mean, I wonder what the Fenway Bowl's main draw is. Whether it's going to be they're going to attract the Eastern schools, whether it be Syracuse and Pitt and Boston College out of the ACC, and of course Temple and maybe Navy out of the American, or whether they're going to just take advantage of fans coming from like far distances and jumping at the shot to see their team play at the most historic ballpark in America. So I think I think this first year will tell a lot about their strategy, but it might just be a strategy of necessity rather than what they want to do. But it should be interesting. I guess looking at the standings too, if they want to go geography, Temple might be bowl eligible, but I want to say East Carolina is their best option, but they'd be competing with the Military Bowl, honestly.
Yeah, and that's a big maybe on on Temple.
Yeah. I mean, they had the glimmer of hope against Memphis, but then they just regress. I actually bet on them against Cincinnati. I thought they were on the rise, and it was a 29-point spread, and they ended up not covering badly. So again, like I guess you just don't know which Temple you're gonna get.
Yeah, that's the way it goes.
But looking at the remaining schedule, I will say so they got USF next week. That one looks like a win for Temple, so that'll put them at 4-3. UCF Temple, that I want to say it's a swing game if I'm being honest. And I don't, you can push back on this. But UCF hasn't looked as impressive in prior years, and I think UCF is a fringe bowl team this year. And like we'll talk a little bit about UCF later on, but they're a fringe bowl team in my eyes. I think Temple has a chance to tack on a huge win for their bowl purposes because looking down the road, they won't beat Houston. Tulsa's another swing game. But also I think Navy looks like a win in their book. So that UCF game could be huge for 6 points, but or for 6 wins, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't count Temple out too soon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not quite a swing game. Temple UCF. Looking at the advanced metrics here, Sagrin, he's got UCF at 72 and Temple down at 131. So not exactly close, but when you're talking, so I don't know how much of that is counting in Dylan Gabriel for UCF. So when you're obviously when he's not going to be playing, you're talking the backup Mikey Keene. Maybe he gets it together a little bit more by the end of the season, but you're getting a little bit closer there. I mean, it's not exactly as lopsided as the metrics would have you think.
I mean, what gets me about UCF is the Navy game. Like that one was just such a, I guess, a surprise for me. And honestly, red flag that this isn't the UCF team of even like last year too. Like, I think last year's team would beat this year's UCF team. Of course, Dylan Gabriel being on. I mean, starting all of last year, but also them struggling with East Carolina, which I mean, most of the time UCF should win that game, even in an off year. So that's my thoughts. That's why I think that's a swing game for Temple's purposes. But yeah, I really do think the Fenway Bowl might need Temple this year, or else they would end up with a very random matchup. Like in this case, a 2015 Independence Bowl rematch between Tulsa, Virginia Tech. Like, not the best situation, I would assume.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think we beat that horse pretty dead. Moving on to another the other ballpark game in that we usually cover, the Pinstripe Bowl, and these projections are all over the place, really. There's four interesting teams in the mix, really. Starting off with Clemson, I want to know the odds you think Clemson ends up in this game. Because they're a brand name, it's obvious that they're a brand name. I'm not sure if the Duke's Mayo Bowl would want them. That would be an easy sellout, I think, for that bowl, but they already went to the Duke's Mayo Classic on Labor Day, so maybe Clemson fans are weary of Charlotte. Another option I think that is in the cards is the Holiday Bowl. I mean, local fans going to see Clemson, which is a rare opportunity for those local fans. And also, I think Clemson fans would travel pretty well to California because I can't tell you the last time they played in California, aside from a national title game.
Yeah, that California draw would be pretty nice, especially when you're thinking. I mean, I don't know who else they've got on the squad, but the quarterback DJ Uiagalelei, he's a Cali boy, so that might be kind of a draw for them. But yeah, talking Pinstripe Bowl, I think if that kind of makes sense for Clemson, I think that the Pinstripe Bowl would jump at the chance. I mean, that's a big draw, and going to put eyeballs on screen as well. Even though Clemson is down this year, and I like them to be in that bowl more than probably any of the other four teams or the other three teams that we're going to talk about. So for various reasons, but I won't bury the lead too much on that.
I mean, I agree. Like Clemson, another huge wild card for bowl season for the ACC. I mean, they don't even have a selection order, as most conferences do not. So it's really a shot in the dark as to where they'll land. I guess moving on to another ACC school, Wake Forest. This one's interesting to me because I think they're the favorite in the Coastal at the moment. I do think they're a better team than North Carolina State. Most prognosticators do not think that. I'm not sure what the Sagarin says for both teams, but I mean, do you see I guess maybe a 10-2 Wake or 11-1 even Wake going up to Yankee Stadium for the Pinstripe Bowl?
So I think Wake is going to be in the New Year's Six, maybe even college football playoff if we get enough craziness. I think that's probably a long shot, but I think Wake is a team of destiny this year. Looking at their remaining schedule, they have a chance to go undefeated. They've got Army, Duke, UNC, NC State at home, Clemson, and Boston College. They'll be favored, I think, in all of those games. Maybe not the NC State at home one, I don't know, but they're they probably don't win out, but they probably go at least 10-2. Strong chance of 11-1. So I think they're playing in a New Year's Six bowl. Sam Hartman, the quarterback, has been playing good ball. Not exactly tearing the laces off of it, but playing well within himself, not throwing too many turnovers or fumbling the ball or what have you. So I think we're not going to be talking about them in the Pinstripe Bowl at the end of the year. And I will look up. I've got Sagarin up here. Wake's 26 and NC State is 22. So that's pretty close. I mean, a home game at Wake, probably going to be like the biggest game at Wake in 2 decades. I would guess. I think that student section is going to be hyped for that game.
Yeah, I agree. For sure. I mean, I do think it's interesting the way that people think the ACC will shape out. Like, I'm holding hope for Pitt. Honestly, I think Pitt's got a lot of experience. Quarterback edge, I'd give to Kenny Pickett this year because of, more experience than Sam Hartman. Particularly, I guess, more big game experience. 2018 ACC title game, had that upset his freshman year against Miami. So I'd give that edge to Pitt, and plus the throwing element this year. The fact that Pitt's throwing the ball so well, we know that Pitt can run the ball. We've known in the past, but this passing game, it feels different. So excuse me. That's why I'm giving Pitt the edge in the ACC, and then after that, I think the Cheez-It Bowl, former Camping World Bowl, I bet they would choose Wake Forest. I just feel like Wake Forest would be taken off the board by then, even NC State. So that's why I'm intrigued by that selection. Before going into the Big Ten teams, I want to ask with this opening question, how many Big Ten teams do you think make the New Year's Six? Because this will set the stage for the rest of the Big Ten bowl lineup.
Let's see. That's a good question. I think we get one Big Ten team into the college football playoff. Who that is, I have no idea, but it's probably Ohio State, Iowa, or maybe a slim chance at Penn State. So I think we get one into the college football playoff. Then after that, I don't even know what's possible. I think we could get 5 or 6 in, but I don't know if that seems too many for a New Year's Six bowl.
Yeah, so I think the way I think see it shaking out is I think one team in the playoff, whether it be probably Ohio State or honestly Michigan State, and then one of those two, if not both of those two, get the New Year's Six, or even Penn State too. So that I got 2 teams in New Year's Six, and then even I don't think Iowa makes New Year's Six. Because I have them losing the Big Ten title game. So 2 losses. The Iowa State win's not looking as impressive, and I'm sure the committee will factor in Sean Clifford's injury for that game, especially how the offense looked the following week against Purdue. So I'm saying 4 teams. So I preface that because Purdue is the next team that I want to ask about. CBS Sports has Purdue going to the Outback Bowl with a 7-5 record because they have 4 teams going to the New Year's Six. And in the Citrus Bowl, which has next after the New Year's Six, they have, I believe, Penn State going to the New Year's Six. And then that leaves the Big Ten, or that leaves the Outback Bowl with just really a cesspool of options, which forces them to choose either Purdue or Minnesota. And Minnesota played in the 2020 edition. So do you see the scenario shaking out? And do you see Purdue being gone before the Pinstripe Bowl?
Could be. Purdue has a pretty tough back half of their schedule. I was looking at it. I think they probably only get 2, maybe 3 more wins. So, I mean, a huge win for them, obviously, this past weekend, beating Iowa, getting in the top 25 in the AP poll for the first time in, I don't know, however many years. So I think, I don't know, they're 4-2 now. I think 6-6 is probably more likely than 7-5, honestly. Maybe that Indiana game, last game of the season, rivalry week, that could go either way. So yeah, 6-6 or 7-5. I think if they're at 7-5, yeah, maybe they do get picked up for the Outback Bowl. If not, Pinstripe Bowl looks like it could be a real possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting too because I mean you got a bunch of teams in the Big Ten West with 2 or 3 losses. Geez, I just look at the standings. Minnesota's a very sneaky 4-2, and I mean that's a huge game against Maryland this weekend for their bowl purposes. But yeah, they should reach 6 wins easily as well. Aside from that, Northwestern's a wild card, Wisconsin's a wild card. Um, Everyone else in the West is a wild card, and in terms of the Big Ten East, um, yeah, I'll ask about Maryland. Do you think Maryland gets bowl eligible? They're 4-2 right now, but um, even the Indiana game looks like a toss up. I mean, and I guess Rutgers would make Rutgers a must win, honestly, if they don't beat Minnesota this week.
Yeah, I think no. I mean, we were talking about this last week. I think that Rutgers Maryland game, last game of the season, comes down to that sudden death bowl eligibility. And I think Rutgers, if I remember correctly, it's at Rutgers, and I think Rutgers takes it down.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I don't think Rutgers is a better team than Maryland, especially after this week against Northwestern. Because, I mean, well, I guess I wrote off Northwestern too quick. Maybe that's the case because 56-7 in Nebraska did not look pretty. Lackluster wins against Indiana State. I guess Ohio was kind of a dominant win. But I wrote them off. I don't know if that's a bowl eligible team. In that aspect, so I just don't think. I think this past weekend, Rutgers kind of got exposed a bit against Northwestern. I don't think they're better than Maryland. So I do see Maryland going 6-6, and I guess avoiding all of the talk of Purdue and Indiana, which we haven't even talked about Indiana yet. So I guess I'll ask you about them now. Like, do you think Indiana gets bowl eligible to get it to the Pinstripe Bowl? I'm not sure they do, but you never know with the Hoosiers. They're a scrappy bunch.
Yeah, I don't think they do, and it's not because they're not a good team, and certainly I think they're way better than a lot of teams that will be bowling. They just have a brutal schedule this year. I think Sagarin has them at 53 overall. And I mean, they just, not only do they have a brutal schedule this year, but they lost their star quarterback in Michael Penix. I just don't see it happening for the Hoosiers, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. And yeah, like we mentioned before, a lot of these bowl projections are shots in the dark. Moving on to our last Northeastern Bowl, a lot of the projections for the Military Bowl in Annapolis have a Conference USA reunion between Louisville and East Carolina, which I think that's very likely in the cards with East Carolina being so close to Annapolis. And I don't think they visit Annapolis this year, even play. So that would be good for the fans of the Pirates. One interesting one was on CBS, which had Miami UCF the Military Bowl. first off, do you see Miami getting bowl eligibility? And second, do you see the Military Bowl sort of arranging this in-state rivalry?
So first part of the question, probably not, but it is possible. It is Miami. They have not looked good this year, but they could turn it around. I wouldn't be shocked. And then the matchup between UCF, yeah, that would be a fun matchup. I mean, you have some great storylines, and it's two Florida teams, not really a rivalry, but UCF has been gaining ground. They're moving to the Big 12. It's going to be four power conference teams in Florida. Like, the storylines kind of write themselves. And then you have, we talked about Miami a little bit. You have kind of a backup quarterback duel. We'll see if either Tyler Van Dyke for Miami or Mikey Keene can really come on here in the later part of the season. And I think it's just a sort of situation where this day and age, these are the quarterbacks that would be playing in these bowl games anyway, because the starters, had they stayed healthy, would probably have opted out and not played in the bowl game. So you have two quarterbacks who'd be playing in this game anyway that are going to be way more experienced and ready than had there not been injuries early on in the season. So yeah, I'd love to see that game. I don't think Miami makes it, and there's questions about UCF this year too. So we probably won't get to see it, but I'd welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be intrigued by it too. I also don't think Miami would make it. I guess looking at the projections too, like I think it would be a team out of the Coastal Division, whether it be UNC, maybe even Georgia Tech. Haven't looked at Georgia Tech's remaining schedule though, or even Virginia Tech. So I'm looking at those teams in the mix. Shoot, I do think it's interesting though. Do you think do you think that's they're sort of a good brand draw to be playing a game in Maryland all the way from Florida? I mean, I'm not sure. I think they do travel well. I haven't looked at the attendance for their New Year's Six games, but I assume they travel well. Do you think they have enough brand power to sort of overcome that distance if they were to play in the Military Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. So let me preface this by saying sometimes it's kind of hard to step outside of oneself, because as a pretty big college football fan, I feel like UCF is like kind of established at this point, right? You always hear about them, whether you're watching games or you're on message boards or Twitter, Reddit, whatever. UCF seems like a big brand, especially now that they're moving to the Big 12, but maybe to a more casual fan, they're still not. I don't know, but I think they are, and they have the largest. Is it largest student enrollment altogether or largest undergrad enrollment? I don't know. It almost doesn't matter. They have almost more students than anyone else in the country, and their alumni base is just continuing to grow. So, yeah, I do think that they're a big enough draw.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree. I mean, well, compared to the rest of the American, like ECU is close by, but that they're not even, I guess, a regional brand. The only other brand that would, I think, kind of compete, maybe Memphis, but they haven't really had as like sustained success. They've always been on the doorstep in the New Year's Six, but they only delivered in 2019. And then I guess I think this might be a hot take. I think the biggest brand in the American is Navy, is Naval Academy, because it's sort of a global brand. But Navy is not going to be eligible in all likelihood. So yeah, I'd have to agree. Whether they get placed in that bowl, I would say no. I'd say ESPN puts them in. Shoot, if anything, maybe the Cure Bowl, I guess. Because that's Orlando. It's an easy sell, and you can probably put them against Liberty, Malik Willis. Should be an intriguing game. Would have been intriguing if it was Dylan Gabriel versus Malik Willis, but I guess we'll never know, in the words of Kanye. So yeah, that's my spiel on that. I guess unless you have anything else to add, we can move to our final topic. Potential BC bowl talk. I think BC's kind of imploding. It's kind of sad because they had so much potential heading into the year, and you've remarked about it before on the pod about Phil Dracovic and the injury and how much it's affected the team. A lot of bowl projections have BC going elsewhere for bowl season. I've seen a few with them going to the Sun Bowl, which is great. They've never been in the Sun Bowl before, and I think that's what the Sun Bowl tends to go for. teams that have never been to El Paso. Others, I think I saw one with a Holiday Bowl. I mean, because I guess why not send a team from Massachusetts all the way to San Diego? So, yeah, I guess where do you see BC bowling, and I guess where do you see their record being after 12 games?
Yeah, I think they're going to limp into bowl eligibility. I think they're probably going to be just there at 6-6. So, Dennis Grossel, Drakovic's replacement there. I mean, he hasn't really found his stride yet. I mean, obviously, nobody's expecting him to fill Drakovic's shoes, but he's. I think he'll play a little bit of better ball once he's got a little bit more experience under his belt. The running back Garwo, he's a stud. I think he'll be able to help shoulder the load a little bit better. And I think it's gonna, it's not gonna be the season that BC really wanted, but I think they'll limp in at 6-6 and get a bowl game, and that's anybody's guess at that point. So we keep penciling them in kind of for the Fenway Bowl, but I think maybe like a change of scenery really helps his team out, and for all intents and purposes, Dracovic wouldn't be playing in this game anyway, most likely, whatever game they get into, Sun Bowl, whatever. So we're going to see what Grossel has got. I think, like I would love to see them in the Fenway Bowl, but I think if you ask these kids, they'd be like, hell yeah, let's go to San Diego, or let's go to, to wherever else, sunny and warm in December.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. I'm not sure how much bowl committees factor in like the players, the kids themselves. I mean, because these are money making affairs, but that's a great point for sure. I mean, because you look at sort of essentially if you send a team across the country, it's an intersectional game. I mean, how often has Boston College played in California? Like, I know they played USC like a few years back at the Coliseum, but that's as far as I know for that program. I guess in terms of remaining schedule. Do you see them? Well, first, do you see them winning this week against Louisville? Because that'd be huge for their bowl prospects, and I guess positioning as well. Because if they beat Louisville, I think that's at least a 7-5 team.
That's a tough one. I think it could probably go either way. Louisville's been kind of hit or miss. Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, Omar.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Louisville's been, I guess, kind of bipolar this year, honestly. And then after that, they got Syracuse. I'm gonna pencil that one as a win. And then Virginia Tech. I don't know what to make of Virginia Tech, honestly. I mean, I feel like it's everything. Like I really like you get like a really inconsistent Virginia Tech that shows flashes some weeks, and really implodes in other weeks. So I really couldn't tell you with these last 6 games, honestly, with Boston College. But
I mean,
we'll see.
The only one looking at the schedule, the only one that looks like a sure loss is Wake. Surprisingly enough, we wouldn't be thinking that before the season, but the rest of these, they are all kind of swing games. Could go either way. So all they need to get is 2 of these, and I think that's probably exactly what they will do.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure in a year like this where, honestly, the looks of it, the ACC, I guess 7-5 and 8-4 bowl teams will be at a premium. I'm not sure how the bowl selection process will be, but it will be interesting for Boston College. And yeah, like we'll see. I feel like with a lot of these mid-level ACC teams, like you're just not sure. Like I feel like it's more it kind of reminds me of the middle of the Big Ten West, honestly, where really I look each week and I just don't know about a lot of these teams, like I just don't know about a lot of these spreads, like how accurate they're going to be. So
yeah, you said it, Omar.
Yeah, and yeah, barring any further points, John. I mean, I don't have anything else.
Oh, one question for you. I know, sorry to spring it on you, but something I was thinking about. So we're seeing in the Northeast here, 2 players have pretty remarkable seasons that are neither one's going to be anywhere near Heisman contention, but I'm talking whatchamacallit, Kenny Pickett from Pitt, the quarterback, and Sean Tucker, the running back from Cuse. So who do you think is having the more impressive season?
Um, I think so. I think Pickett is honestly. Well, honestly, I wouldn't count Kenny Pickett out of the Heisman if I'm being honest. I think he's in that sort of top 10 range. Because Pitt they're getting traction. Like people are seeing the Pitt machine working at full speed right now. They look to be the front runner in the Coastal. I believe that they scheduled the ACC title game for prime time on championship weekend, so that'd be huge for his Heisman hopes. So I wouldn't count Kenny Pickett out. I do think Sean Tucker, what he's doing at Syracuse might be more impressive, considering Dino Babers, what he's done with that scheme in the past, how high flying it's been throwing the ball. Um, and plus also how much he has to share in the backfield with Garrett Schrader, because Schrader runs the ball a good amount too. So, and
Mhm.
I think Tucker's a freshman as well, right?
Yeah, I think he's a redshirt freshman. I think
Okay.
he played last year, but um, yeah, they call him a freshman. But yeah, I think Pickett won't get any Heisman, and Tucker either won't get any Heisman love just simply because neither of their teams are really going to be top 5 teams, and that kind of seems like that's what the award is now. The quarterback or running back with the best stats on a top 5 team. So I don't think they're going to fit the bill for that, but I think, yeah, objectively, if it was simply a who had the best season award, and then maybe they'd be in contention.
I mean, I agree in the case of Tucker, like it takes so much, like especially on the team for running back to be in Heisman contention. But I mean, especially this week, if Kenny Pickett turns in a strong performance against Clemson, I think people start to buzz a bit too. And then I look at he's also got a spotlight game against North Carolina on a Thursday night on Veterans Day. Like Thursday night, one of the only college football games on that night. Like I got to think that that's got to help his campaign a bit too. I mean, there's just a lot of opportunities for him to go toe to toe with some big names, like whether it be Clemson, whether it be North Carolina and Sam Howell, or even like against Virginia and Brennan Armstrong. If him and Brennan Armstrong go in a great duel, I mean, I can see the Kenny Pickett Heisman train sort of rolling along. So, I'm gonna push back. I mean, I'm hoping for a Kenny Pickett Heisman run. I don't think they've had a good Heisman candidate since, I don't know if LaShawn McCoy even got votes or even Dion Lewis. I'd have to look at that, but I'm assuming they didn't. So, yeah, I guess he'd be the first since, what, I guess Dan Marino even. Yeah, I guess Dan Marino or Curtis Martin.
Maybe it's crazy. Yeah, Pitt has always had like just some stud players that talking about Larry Fitz, Aaron Donald, McCoy, Marino. They always seem to have somebody who's up there, but they never have the total team package.
Yeah, I mean it really confuses me honestly. Well, 2009. I feel like this year maybe like the shades of 2009, except I think Pitt can't actually do it this year. But I'm looking at LaShawn McCoy. Yeah, he didn't get any Heisman votes. I think he didn't get any votes at all. I'm gonna look up Dion Lewis because I forgot about Larry Fitz. I mean, how could I? Yeah, so neither of those
It's all
guys
right.
got Heisman votes. Yeah, but I think this year feels different, like I said, with Kenny Pickett and just that scheme. Like this doesn't feel like a Narduzzi scheme, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest. And I mean, it's just like with Cincinnati, all the conditions are right for them to make that run this year and this year only.
yeah. If only they hadn't lost to Western Michigan, but oh well.
Yeah. I mean, I would have thought Western Michigan was a near six hopeful, or like I guess in the conversation. I would have thought every conference had a team until they lost to Ball State. I guess Ball State's picking up as Army was a victim too. I mean, I guess I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel as bad that Army lost to Ball State because they woke up honestly. But yeah, if not for that Western Michigan loss.
Oh well.
Yeah. I guess on that somber note for Pitt, John, do you have anything else to add?
No, nothing for me.
Yeah, no, this has been great. You can expect this on the airwaves or the internet waves tomorrow morning. And again, just keep looking at the Northeast Bowl races and the teams that are in it, really, especially the Northeast teams that are hoping for bowls. It should be fun bowl season nonetheless. So until next time, peace, love, and soul, everyone.